Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of OCT Clinical's Industry Voice. For safety reasons, we still conduct our interviews remotely, but we are very optimistic and we hope that the situation will change for the better soon. The clinical trials industry has been heavily affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. We also know, based on our own experience, that a lot of investigators have been facing even harder times. So to clarify the situation, we decided to invite Dr. Karina Khidishyan, an investigator at one of the largest oncology sites in the country.
Karina, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello, Anna. Thank you for inviting me. It's a good pleasure for me and for our center.
Karina, so first of all, I would like to talk to you about the general situation at your site. So do you get any help from a sponsor or a CRO in terms of, let's say, taxi for patients, for instance?
Yes, all above and details. Taxi for relatives without patients, sending research materials by a courier as an option, and also it is lectures, webinars, meetings, providing personal protective equipment with help of patient organizations and Roche company, for example.
And if we talk about the patients themselves, do you employ home visits for them, and do you have any challenges while doing that?
We also have these possibilities, but at the beginning of pandemic, there was a discussion about implementation of such a practice, but our center has the right to conduct such visits from a legal point of view. In our case, many patients are in the regions, and we couldn't provide all 300 subjects with home visits on our own, and if we wanted to do this. So all teams and all sponsors optimize the need for visits to the center, and all patients have an opportunity to continue their treatment. We left approximately 170 visits per month.
Which risk management measures were undertaken within your site to manage the circumstance, the pandemic?
We relocate all clinical trials from the center to clinical diagnostic department and minimize the time of spending patients in the clinical diagnostic department. We provide a personal protective equipment for doctors and for patients also, and we examine patients for coronavirus. They can do it on their own at home or in our center. Then we examine and interview the patients at the visit to detect the coronavirus.
Do you employ third-party vendors to collect patients' biosamples at their homes?
Yes, we have this possibility, but it is not yet necessary yet. Pros are we can continue the treatment as safe and as effective as it's possible, and cons are psychological aspects. Patient is worried about new conditions, his safety, and how long would it be.
If we talk about the ongoing studies, did you have to pass over any of them to another site because of the pandemic?
The probability of transferring the patient to another center will certainly increase if epidemiological situation in country will be worse. All the measures are primarily aimed to ensuring the safety of the patient and maintaining the effectiveness of the treatment. For example, the patient underwent the procedures necessary for a visit to our center at another research center in Moscow, and then he came to Petrov center only for the therapy.
Has there been an increase in the number of missed visits by patients within ongoing trials?
We optimized patient visits. For example, follow-up visits, which don't require radio or laboratory diagnostics, are conducted remotely by telephone or video conference.
Do you employ IP delivery to patients' homes?
Yes, we have this function, but in this time, this is not needed.
If we talk about eClinical solutions, have you been working with any eClinical platforms for clinical trials, for instance, ePro, EDC?
Of course, the role of quality of life questionnaires is important for assessing the quality of life of the patient. Given the situation with pandemic, this tool greatly simplifies the task for assessing the patient's condition for the doctor, provides a more detailed patient status.
how would you rate the communication with a sponsor or a CRO within the last 2 months? And do you think remote monitoring is effective?
There were concerns that the efficiency might be reduced, but it didn't happen. We live at the time when digital technology can help to continue our work as effective as possible.
And if there are any new studies about to start at your site, how do you manage such processes as site initiation, patient screening, or even obtaining ICFs?
We use online conferences and use taxi or courier, and we continue our work very effective.
Does your site participate in ongoing patient recruitment at the moment?
We continue our work and including patients. The number of patients has been slightly reduced. Now we can communicate with the patient and introduce the transmission of informed consent for review. Only if the patient makes a final decision on consenting to be admitted to a clinical trial, the patient is invited to a face-to-face consultation. Screening procedures are performed as soon as possible in order to ensure patient safety.
Karina, that would be all for today. So we would like to thank you very much for your expertise and insights. We appreciate it endlessly. So thank you very much.
I'm glad to have this opportunity, and many thanks from me and from our center too. Have a good day, be safe.
Thank you, you too.